Wonderful good day, ladies and gentlemen. Don Grand Hotel here in Zurich, and we are at the Zurich Investor event. And with me here is another mining legend. I can only say that, Roosen, the CEO of Osisko Gold Royalties. And we want to talk about this terrific company, and of course, we want to have an update. That's for sure. Sean, great to have you here. Thank you.
Good to be back, Jürgen.
We spoke the last time, like 6 months ago, at Mines and Money, of course. But maybe can you give us a little bit of a wrap up what happened in the last, not only 6 months, maybe a little bit further?
Well, sure. It's been a very exciting time for us. We've been one of the fastest growing companies in the sector. We started this company in June 2014. We've gone from a $570 million market cap with $157 million to where we are today at $1.6 billion market cap with $450 million of cash available for investment. We've done over $775 million of transactions in 21 months. And we continue to be very active in terms of the royalty space. There's basically 3 ways that we deploy on royalties and streams that are fairly traditional. And then we have our 4th way, which is the incubator process, which is unique to Osisko at this point in time. So we've been pretty active on the royalty space as well with the merger with Virginia. So we now have the 2 key cornerstone assets, which is the 5% top line royalty on the Canadian Malartic mine, currently Canada's largest gold producer. And a mine we know well because we built it. And also in terms of where we are on the Virginia asset, we purchased Virginia and merged the company, and Andre Gaumont came to join the team, one of the most famous greenfield explorers that we've seen come along. He discovered the Eleanor mine, which Goldcorp is now ramping up on. So that's an exciting story for us as well, and it adds another big asset to our base. So our royalties now cover, in terms of producing mines, cover about 14 million ounces of reserves, and still growing, and then resources much more than that. We also have expanded our royalty portfolio, and that we've added, we started out with 5 royalties, we now have 54.
54 now?
Yeah, wow. So it's been pretty fast moving. We deployed about $220 million in investments last year directly into the space. And we also became the largest shareholder of Labrador Iron Ore Royalty Corporation. We now own 9.8% of that. And our cash flow for last year, revenues, was about $57 million for our first full year of business.
That's fantastic. So how much do you expect for this year?
We're looking this year, we should be in the 65-70 million range, assuming that we don't add any more assets. But as you know, we raised some more capital in Q1 of this year. So we now, with $450 million of cash and a $200 million revolver, we have enough firepower to pull a deal at about 650 million Canadian. So we're actively out there looking to deploy capital. Obviously, the market's turned a bit in the gold space here, but the base metal space is still fairly opportunistic, and we see some precious metal streams that could print off the base metal mines as a lot of the balance sheets in the base metal space get rebalanced. So that's a big piece of business we're focused on right now.
Great. Can you elaborate a little bit more about your incubator model?
Well, the incubator model is essentially to leverage off our success in the past. If we look back at what we did in the past with Canadian Malartic, we bought it for $88,888. We put $1.05 billion into it, and the company sold for $4.1 billion. Shareholders made a clear and concise benefit of $3 billion on that transaction. If we look what Andre Gaumont did with Virginia, he had the discovery at Eleanor, sold the deposit to Goldcorp for $500 million back in the day. And subsequently, we bought the royalty in the company for $560 million. So his shareholders made $1 billion on that plan. So the incubator process is really about taking advantage of that model, whereby we're going into earlier stage developers, and we're putting some technical people and some cash into the equity portion of the money, both in technical support and also to provide capital equity to evolve the project. And we're also coming in to help structure project financing. We're doing it at earlier stages in the developing companies, and then also we're taking a proactive role in the administration of those companies. Some of them are operating from our offices and sharing services with us to reduce G&A on them and to get more money into the ground faster.
Wow, fantastic.
So some of the successful ones that we've done, I would say Oban is our most active one, consolidated 7 companies and now has 6 million ounces with 2 projects in Quebec and a project in Ontario. And it's been extremely active, great drill results at Windfall. We have a small royalty there, but obviously with the success at Windfall and an outstanding resource at a deposit called Marban, which is 13 kilometers from Canadian Malartic, the mine that we built. So that's been a pretty active process, and $75 million raised during the process for that company.
Yeah.
And we are the largest shareholder through Osisko Royalties. We also invested in Falco Resources in 2012 as Osisko Mining.
Yeah.
They recently published a resource of 5.36 million ounces indicated, with another 1.25 million ounces of inferred. So they've come a long way. That's the old Horn 5 deposit, which was the crown jewel of Noranda back in the day. And they mined that down to 650 meters, and the economics changed from being a copper mine to a gold mine, so they stopped it in 1978. So we're quite hopeful that that project is going to be big for us as well.
Will you bring that in production, maybe, the Horn 5?
Well, Falco may do it. Osisko Royalties will be part of the solution.
You are backing them, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's being led by Luc Lessard, who was our chief operating officer at Canadian Malartic. He built and operated Canadian Malartic, and he's a total of 11 mine builds under his belt.
I would say he's able to do that.
He's pretty keen on this one, yeah. So that's a big story that's got a small market cap of about $50-60 million, but we think it's a story that's got some legs to it. There are some issues to sort out in terms of the evolution of it, in terms of the process for the permitting and everything. But it is a brownfield site with a shaft in it, and it's quite an interesting project. So,
by the way, I'm also a shareholder of Falco, so I'm really happy on that.
So, and these are assets that we had identified as Osisko Mining. We carried forward as Osisko Royalties. And to bring those companies in allows us to do a couple of things. We keep our technical team together, which is the same team that built all the value at Osisko One.
Super.
And we have the continuity in our technical team that allows us to do due diligence on behalf of Osisko Gold Royalties, and we offset some of our G&A by sharing those services. So I think in terms of a structure for us, we're the fourth largest royalty company in the precious metal space. It's right-sized business for us, and it's something that the other groups are not doing as much of, or don't have the platform to do it from. We've also become second largest shareholder at Barkerville Gold, which is a story that's had some rough times in the past, and there's a couple of lawsuits on it, so it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But the way that we see that one is it's a big brownfield camp. It has an SRK resource of about 2.6 million ounces measured and indicated, another 2.2 million ounces of inferred. But we treat it more like an exploration evolution project at this point in time. We're redrilling it, and so in that one, we put an investment of $25 million for the royalty, put in $15 million of flow through.
Yeah.
And that company now has about $55 million in it, and is under drilling now.
Great. Can you maybe give our viewers an idea how the gold price affects your royalty? I mean, like as an average, yeah? We saw in 2015 the 57 million. Now for this year, you say like 65, 70 million. Let's assume gold is moving by, in average, $100, $200.
Well, we have about 40,000 ounces of zero cost royalty gold that comes to us on the current program. So that we would add a couple $100 an ounce on each one of those. So it's
a lot of money.
Each ounce represents about $800 represents about $5 million to us.
Wow, that's a lot.
So it's pretty. We have pretty good exposure to that, and obviously the other companies in which we would hold both the equity and the royalty in are benefiting from the higher gold markets. For example, we've seen our Barkerville investment go from $15 million to $27 million. So our equity portfolio has been performing well as well. So, and in terms of us putting in that equity, it gives us, especially in development assets, it gives us a return on the investment while the project is developing. So we've tried to find the right hedge to value to get involved in those projects. So that's where we are.
Super. Well, outstanding. It was even so fast, I have to keep up with that. But the point, what I want to mention also, not to ask you, because I just had Sean Boyd here, who's paying since 1979 dividends, 34 years consecutive, which is really amazing. I think dividends are one of the future key things for our industry, for the mining industry, as we are in a 0% or even negative percent interest world. What is your view on that? Do you want to raise the dividend also?
We did just raised our dividend to about 1.1%, which in the royalty world is about, it's up there with the big leagues. Obviously, the appreciation in royalty shares has been pretty significant. So the dividend yield is around 1.1 overall in the sector, and we're in line with that. We will increase dividend as we increase revenues. but our goal is not to have to ever decrease dividends. So
Yeah.
we take a fairly conservative approach to that, focused on growing the business, maintaining the dividends that we have, and if we see opportunity to increase our dividend, we certainly will do so.
Fantastic. That's a great final sentence. Sean, thank you very much for that, and all the best. And honestly, I will see how many projects you put on this year, 54. And I'm wondering how many you can handle, but I'm pretty sure you can do a lot.
A lot of them are exploration projects that aren't active, so it's a bigger number than what we're actually managing, which is about a dozen of active royalties.
Great.
But all said and done, thank you very much, and look forward to see you at the next event.
Oh, definitely. Thank you very much. The future is bright for Osisko, that's for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Sean Roosen, the CEO of Osisko Gold Royalties. Well, you heard it, the company is strongly cashed up, is hyperactive, I would call it. 54 royalty projects are in the company already. The company is paying a dividend, 1.1% of a yield. It's raising the dividend with the growing business, of course. And for this year, they project something like $65 to $70 million of income. I think fantastic. Well done. Well led by Sean Roosen and his team. Check it out. Thanks and bye-bye from Zurich.